What's up people, welcome back to another one of my videos. My name is Sound Devil, and for this video I'll be showing you how you can make this drop over here. Okay, that's gonna be the drop for today's video. If you liked it, keep watching because I'll be showing you how you can make this drop step by step. And also, if you haven't watched my last video, in that video I was explaining how you can make the build up. So I'm gonna leave the link in the description below so you can check it out. For this video, we're gonna be looking at this first sound right here and the second one. So right here I have the kick snare. This is how I made it. We're gonna turn this off. We're gonna be using analog basic shapes on oscillator A. The octave is gonna be to -1, unison to 16, detune 0, and I didn't use any of these right here. We're gonna turn on FM from B and we put it to 30%. Right here on LFO number 1, I have this shape. We're gonna be using trigger mode and 1/8. We drag LFO number 1 to the level of oscillator A. We put it to 100%, and that's pretty much it right here. We turn on oscillator B. The octave is gonna be to +3. The unison is gonna be to 16, detune to 0%, and I didn't move any of these. Right here, we're gonna turn on sync no window. We put it to 1.04%, and that's it right there. We turn on the filter. We're gonna be using multi HN12. The cutoff is going to be to 66 Hz, resonance to 58%, frequency 57%, and the drive to 29%. We're going to drag LFO number 1 to the drive and we put it to 19%. We also drag it to the cutoff, we put it to 18%, and on the frequency as well, we put it to -19. We move to LFO number 2. We have this shape right here. We put it to trigger mode and to 1/8. We're going to drag that to FM from B on oscillator A and we put it to 45%. Next, we go to LFO number 3. I have this shape right here. The way that you can do that, you just press shift left click and it's gonna give you the exact angles like this. We're gonna be doing trigger mode to 1/2. We drag that to the sync on oscillator B and we put it to 100%, and also we drag it to the coarse pitch on oscillator B and we put it to 6%. Now we move to the FX window. We have the EQ first. The frequency is going to be to 132 Hz. We're going to be using LFO number 1. We drag that to the frequency and we put it to 13%. The Q is going to be to 45% and the gain to 0 dB. We're going to be using the low EQ on this side, and on this side I didn't move anything. Next we have the distortion. We have the soft clip. The drive is going to be to 15% and the mix to 100%. Next we have the compressor. The only thing that I moved was the gain. The gain is on 3.6 dB. We're going to drag LFO number 1 to the gain and we put it to 12%. We turn on multiband and the mix is to 100%. Next we have the hyper dimension. The rate is going to be to 40%, detune to 25%, unison to 4, and the mix to 16%. On this side, on that dimension, the size is going to be to 20% and the mix to 45%. The last thing that I have is going to be the reverb. The size is going to be to 27%, decay to 3.1 seconds. I didn't move any of these, but I moved the mix. The mix is going to be to 11%. We go to LFO number 1 and we drag that to the mix and we put it to -100. And that's pretty much how I made this sound. The notes right here are this, E note and the F note. And on the mix, I have these effects. I have an OTT, I have an EQ, I have a wave shaper, I have a reverb that only has 3% on the wet, songadizer, and that's it. The next sound that we're going to be looking at, it's going to be this one. This is how I made it. We're going to turn this off. We're going to be using basic shapes again on this one. The octave to -1. We're going to be using the square wave. We're going to turn on FM from B. We put that to 30%, level to 0%, and we're going to be dragging LFO number 1 to the level, and that we put it to 100%. We turn on oscillator B and the octave is gonna be to +1, unison to 16, detune to 0%, and I didn't move any of these. We're gonna turn on sync no window, and we put it to 1.24%. We turn on the filter. We're gonna be using HN12. The cutoff is gonna be to 66 Hz, resonance 58%, drive to 29%, and the frequency to 57%. We drag LFO number 1 to the cutoff. We put it to 18%. We drag it to the drive to 19%, and also to the frequency to -19. On the LFO number 1, we have this shape. It's a little bit different. We're gonna be using trigger mode to 1/2. That one we drag it to FM from B right here, and we put it to 42%. Next we go to LFO number 3. We have this shape on envelope mode to 1/4. That one we drag it to the sync on oscillator B, and we put it to 71%, and also to the course pitch on oscillator B, and we put it to 6%. Next we go to the FX page. I have the same effects from the other sound that I should show you, so you can just copy that. We drag LFO number 1 to the frequency, and we put it to 13%. And also we drag it to the gain on the compressor, and we put it to 12%. The only difference here is gonna be the LFO number 2. I have this shape, and we drag it to the mix on the reverb, and we put it to 6%. And on the mix I have this effect, OTT, EQ, wave shaper, and a reverb, where only has 16%. And the next sound is gonna be this one, which is very similar, or is the same as this one right here, but it's just shorter. It's gonna be the same as the other sound. The only difference is gonna be the LFOs. So the LFO number 1 is gonna have this shape. The FM from B right here has 30%, and right here we have the same percentage. So it's gonna be 18 on the drive, is gonna be 19, and -19 on the frequency. We move to LFO number 2 that I have this shape right here. It's a little bit different than the other one. We just drag it to the FM from B, and we put it to 42%. LFO number 3, I have this shape right here is off to 1/4, and we drag it to the sync, and we put it to 60%. And also we put it on the course pitch, and we put it to 6% right here. Right here on the effects, I have the same effects. Right here we're gonna be using LFO number 2 to the mix on the reverb, and we put it to -60. Right here on the mix I have an EQ, OTT, wave shaper, and songwriter. And that's gonna be all for today's video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something new, and if you did, please give it a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done it. On the next one we're gonna finish this drop, and we're gonna be looking at the laser right here and the sub. So if you want to know how I made that, we're gonna be focusing on that on the next video. And yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.